Okay, good morning. My name is Alex Clausen. I'm the interim dean for our assistant dean for faculty, and this is a little recording on how we do our LP seminar series. Just a little background. First of all, we use Adobe Connect for our webinars. I've tried going to GoToMeeting because I frankly really liked it. I liked it a lot better, but I was kind of shot down on that one. Adobe Connect isn't horrible. One of the issues that we had with it was the lack of support. We used to have sessions where students and faculty would get together, and it was basically kind of like a live lecture, um, but done electronically or done using a software program so that we would have, it's a synchronous meeting but in different locations. However, we had a lot of problems with the technology, and unfortunately, Adobe Connect, their policy is that they will not provide any technical support to students. So we were running into situations where either the student couldn't get into the room or the faculty member couldn't get into the room, and Adobe Connect wasn't going to help either one of them. So um, what we did is that, and it used to be that you got graded on this. Like if you got graded on your attendance, which we had an issue with that when we took over the master's program. We feel that at the master's level, you don't get points just for showing up because, I mean, you could literally just log into Adobe Connect and then go watch the football game, and you would show up on the attendance, so you would get, 200 points during the course of the class for this, and that just seemed frankly ridiculous. So we took the seminars or the live sessions and we made them recordings, so you will still be using Adobe Connect, but you will do it without any students in the room. So it'll be a much more like some of the lectures that you see on YouTube. Um, it's not a terribly difficult program. So I'm going to walk you through the basics. You can definitely find more advanced things on YouTube, but it's not rocket science. Adobe Connect doesn't do like totally amazing things, and you probably won't be doing much more than PowerPoints. Though I will say that for anybody who teaches accounting, finance, or stats, it does have a whiteboard feature, which can be helpful when working out problems. So you'll need to record one seminar recording for each learning plan. So during the course of the quarter, you're going to have 5 of them. And let me get started by showing you. This is more or less what your room will look like. I'm shooting this with a camera or a screen capture, so I'm kind of I'm not actually recording this in Adobe Connect, so there's no going to be no Adobe Connect recording to go with this. Um, but when you when you open up Adobe Connect, there are a couple of different layouts that you can use. I usually use the sharing layout. There's also a collaboration layout. If you click on that, you'll see that the orientation and the different kinds of windows change. This one might be good for accounting and finance because you have this whiteboard here. So if you want to work through some problems, you can just press on the T and then you can start typing. It also has a pencil function, so if you have, I have one of those little hand mouse things. It's a mouse pen, and this can actually be pretty helpful for working out problems, which is something that I definitely recommend if you are in the accounting or finance or stats or quant classes. Um, if you're not teaching one of those classes, you're probably not going to need this. Though, one other use for Adobe Connect, once you get your room set up, is you'll have at least one office hour per week, and you'll need to hold your office hour in Adobe Connect. And it really is beneficial to hold it in Adobe Connect because if a student comes to you and says, "Hey, I'm having problems with my paper," this is an opportunity for you guys to actually look at the paper together. and it's going to be more meaningful for you to give feedback to your student if you guys are both looking at the same paper than if you're just trying to describe where in the paper there's a problem. So it does help to have your office hours in Adobe Connect. The other thing I want to say about this is office hours here are like office hours at any other school. There's going to be, it's feast or famine. You'll either have a couple of students or you'll have nobody. I usually recommend, you'll choose your office hours at the beginning of the quarter. I usually recommend setting your office hours for a time that you're going to be online anyway, like you're grading, or you're doing some other work, because when you open your Adobe Connect room and you're working in another window, if somebody enters a room, you'll see a little message, a little square in the bottom will pop up and let you know that you have company. I don't expect for you to for your office hours to be spent sitting and staring at your screen. I'm going to close that. Sorry, you'll probably see my email at some point during during this podcast. Um, okay, so for most of you, the layout that you're going to want to use will probably be sharing. Um, so let me go back here, and you will need to have some sort of visual. Again, if you are, I do not know why that keeps doing that. Sorry. If you are working through problems, your visual may be the whiteboard, which you can also go up here. Where is it? Oh, um, if you go to share my screen, you can choose whiteboard from here, and then you will have nothing but a whiteboard. And this may be the only visual that you need. If your intention is to work problems out of the book, you can, as you're recording, you can tell the students, what problem, what page, and then you can just start writing it out, like basically using it as a chalkboard. But for the rest of you, you're probably going to be using PowerPoints. So you would save the PowerPoint to your hard drive, and then you go to Share Document. And then these are all the PowerPoints that I've used previously in this class. I created a new PowerPoint for this presentation. So I'm going to browse my computer. I'm going to try to remember where I put it. Oh, here it is. And then one thing to keep in mind is that Adobe Connect will only accept two formats for uploading. It will accept PowerPoints and it will accept PDFs. So if you have a student who comes to visit you during office hours with a paper, two things. Number one, I would make sure that they're at the very, very beginning of the paper, like they're still brainstorming or outlining, if they're starting to write their paper and they have a significant amount of content, I would have them put it in their Dropbox, so that it gets run through, turn it in, and then have them download their turned in report, and then have them bring their turned in report to office hours. And that way, if there are any academic integrity issues, if they demonstrate a lack of understanding of how to paraphrase, you can address that in office hours at the same time. But in order for you to be able to upload their paper so that both of you can see it, they're going to have to turn it into a PDF. Or they can email it to you and you can turn it into a PDF. But I say teach them to fish, and they'll be able to do this for all of their classes. Okay, and there'll be a video in the future on how to turn it in. I actually think that one may actually come as a Word file, because I believe I already have that created. Okay, so now I have my PowerPoint uploaded, and in the lower left-hand corner, which you guys cannot see, I apologize for that. Let me see if I can. There. Sorry, I should have made my camera window bigger. There are these little arrows where you can move forward and backward through your PowerPoint. Um, so that basically just advances it. I'm gonna move my camera again. Um, okay, so as far as audio goes, up here, this will This right here is your microphone. I don't need that because I am actually recording in a different software program. I'm using a software program that's basically a camera that goes over my monitor. So, and the software program that I'm using, I'm plugged into that program. For Adobe Connect, you'll basically need a USB microphone, and then your audio setup is right here. Your speaker setup is right here. You probably won't need it because, frankly, there's not going to be anybody in the room with you. Now, during office hours, you'll probably need this, but while you're recording, you won't need it. But and I don't want to turn on the audio because I don't want two microphones running at the same time. But basically, I would just go click on this down menu and then click on connect to audio. There is also You'll also need to record, and under meetings, you just select record meeting. A window will pop up, and then you'll just give it a name. I'm not going to record this. I'm recording this session, but not turning on the record in Adobe Connect. But just you can call it MT6300 LP1 seminar, and that's it. And you'll see a little red dot up in the upper right hand corner. If you're recording and you're an hour into it and you don't see a red dot, you're going to be really upset, because if there's no red dot, you haven't recorded. So you'll have to start re-recording again. So as far as the way that the learning plan, the seminars are designed is we have 5 2-week LPs, or 5 2-week learning plans. You'll have one seminar for each learning plan. Now, your seminar is generally going to be between 30 to 45 minutes of content. If you want to go longer, that's fine. Please do not do less than that. You want your seminar to be based on the learning objectives for that learning plan, and those will be in the syllabus in the classroom. Um, so if you're, if the syllabus says that you're going to learn about lean management during that learning plan, then that needs to be the topic of your seminar recording. Again, if you're teaching stats, accounting, finance, quant, we definitely want for you to work through some problems. I would look at the problems that are assigned to the students in the assignments, and then make sure that the problems that you're working through, I wouldn't do exactly the same problems, but I would do something relatively close so that students can see the relationship. So, for instance, if you're teaching accounting and you're teaching inventory, you probably, or cost flow, inventory cost flow, you probably want to do a FIFO problem, a LIFO problem, a dollar value LIFO problem, a weighted average problem, and a specific identification. Um, and you can feel free to break up your recordings into logical discrete recordings. So rather than doing a 45-minute recording, which can it may not seem like that long, but it wears on your voice after. I mean, because remember, you're the only person who's going to be talking, and talking for 45 minutes straight can can be a little bit exhausting. So, and from the viewer's perspective, watching 45 minutes straight of one person talking can be a bit much. So you may want to break up your LP1 seminar into 3 pieces. So, for instance, if I'm teaching, going back to the example with accounting, I may do one recording where I do specific identification and weighted average, and then I might have a LIFO, or I'm sorry, a FIFO recording, and then I might have a LIFO recording, and then I might have a dollar value LIFO recording, because those are going to be a lot easier for students to manage. They'll be easier for you to manage, and we are going to put these on YouTube. So just from my own experience, I find that watching shorter videos um, engages me better, and I'm not somebody who has a short attention span. Yeah, actually, I kind of am. But but it engages me more, and it's gonna. So from that perspective, I think it will draw more students to your video if it's a 10-minute video rather than an hour and a half long video. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So, how to set up your Adobe Connect room. I'm not going to go through this because there are instructions in D2L, but when you're in D2L, you're basically going to go to the toolbar, you'll click on course materials, content, and then you'll see a whole slew of links, and the one you want is live session information instructors. And let me see if I have um, this. Okay, that's not what I wanted. Oh, um, and I can actually send you the app for that. So let me just log into my D2L room really quickly to show you guys where to find it. And I'm going to use a human resources room um, as the model here. Okay, so course materials, content, and then course information, and then basically you scroll down and it's this online rooms instructor. If you click on that, it will bring up the instructions on how to set up the room in Adobe Connect. Once you have it set up, then you just go to communication and click on online rooms. And this room is already set up. This is from an old class. Um, when you set up your room, there's going to be a persistent link. So whenever you want to go into your room and do a new recording, you just click on this join, and if you click on that, it will open up Adobe Connect and you'll be ready to start recording. It will look like essentially what my Adobe Connect room looked like 15 minutes ago when we started this recording. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when you're done recording, you'll have you'll basically have a recording that is restricted in view, so nobody can actually see it. In order to make your recordings visible, you have to you basically go to the name of your room, you click on this drop down menu, and there is, let me pull this down. There is this view archives. If you click on view archives, um, under visibility, what you'll originally see is that this will say restricted. So you'll want to click on the pencil and then choose to public and then click on apply. Then what you want to do is click on the name of the recording. It will launch the Adobe Connect's recording to replay. And then what you can do is, let me go back to my Adobe Connect. Oops, wrong one. When you're replaying the video, up here there will be a URL, and you just copy and paste that URL, and that's the one that you give to your students. If you ever send a URL to your students and they say that this asked me to log in, it means that you have sent them the wrong link. You have sent them the link to your persistent room, the active room. You did not send them the link to the archive recording. So you have to change the visibility on the recording from restricted to visible. Then you have to launch the recording and grab the URL. That is the URL that you're going to give to your students, and the one that you're going to give to me as well. And so that basically is how, and these next couple slides just kind of go through that in more detail. Um, So again, 30 to 60 minutes of content. You will need visuals. PowerPoints preferably because these can be loaded directly into Adobe Connect. You can also upload PDFs. So if you have a Word document that you want to share, you're going to have to PDF it. Um, I've gotten to the point where I even generally PDF my PowerPoints because of the file size. I may, oftentimes I'll have PowerPoints that are 30 slides long, and it can take a while to upload. So I turn them into PDFs, and they upload much quicker. And also, if you turn them into PDFs, you can share them with your students. Again, D2L, the mailbox, not that big. There's a size restriction on the size of files that you can send. It's not a very big file size, so using PDFs can often help with dealing with those issues. So please break them up into 15 to 20-minute video. Feel free to break them into 15 to 20-minute videos. Again, I would just want them to be logical breaks. Like if you're working through a very complicated or very long accounting problem, finish the problem. Don't break in the middle of the problem. If you're doing human resources, cover an entire topic so that that video makes sense as a discrete learning tool. Then move on to the next video. You'll need to post those URLs to your class. You can either email them or post them in your announcements, but they'll need to be accessible to your students by the end of the first day of each learning plan. So for this next quarter, the fall 2014 quarter, the first day of class is on October 1st. So you will want to give your LP seminar recording to your students by the end of that day. Though I will say that the first week, because it's add drop week, if you give it to them by the end of the second day, that's fine. But moving forward in LP2 through 5, please make sure that your students have your recording by the end of the day, or I guarantee if you post it one day late, they're going to come to me and say they were robbed. So please make sure that you get those ready. And you are free to record all of your sessions early. Um, our healthcare administrative instructor, or administration instructor, Dr. Palak, he will send me his recordings, all 5 recordings by the first day of class. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can use, if you're satisfied with the recording and you're teaching this class next quarter, and the class hasn't changed, you are free to reuse that recording. So, if you are happy with what you did this quarter, you don't have to revise it at all, or you don't have to re-record. But if you feel that you want to keep the content fresh, you want to include current events, which I absolutely encourage, then you are free to re-record. Or you may decide next quarter that, oh, I really liked recording 1, 3, and 4, but I want to redo 2 and 5. The only thing I ask is that when your recording is done, please email me the recording as well. So when you send me your URLs, please include a 1 to 2 sentence description and then some tags and keywords because that will help your videos get found on YouTube. In addition to creating the recording, you need to create a short assessment to go with it. And this is, again, going back to the beginning of my discussion, we stopped giving out free points. So you are making these videos as ways to communicate your knowledge and your professional expertise. We expect students to watch them. I don't feel that an hour-long video every 2 weeks is very taxing. Maybe it's because I remember going to 3 hours worth of lectures every week for 16 weeks at a time. Um, so we expect for them to watch it, but in order to enforce that, we want to have some sort of brief assessment. And if you look on the grade book, you'll see that there are seminar assessments for each learning plan. You will make up the assessment. Your assessment can be something as like a 3 to 5 question quiz or a 5 to 10 question worksheet, or maybe you want them to take the content and write, a one-page summary, uh, applying it to an organization. Um, it should be something that takes the student no more than about 15 to 20 minutes to do. The average student. We don't want this to be something that is longer than it took than the video, because the most important part of this is for them to watch the video and to learn from what you're teaching. This is more of testing to make sure that they're doing it, and then also to test their comprehension. But like I said, you can keep it I would not go more than 15 questions, or more than 15 to 20 minutes worth of work. And whatever your assessment is, it should be based on what the recording included. I've had instructors who would give a recording on one thing and then give an assessment that made absolutely no sense based on what was in the recording. Um, so the two things should be tied together in terms of content. And I'm almost done. A couple of things to keep in mind. Please make sure that you observe copyright laws. We are a for-profit school, so, and I know that I think that all of you, the people that I hired for the fall quarter, I think all of you may come from nonprofit educational backgrounds, or that you're teaching for nonprofits. Because we're for-profit, we don't enjoy the same treatment in terms of copyright that a lot of public schools. Basically, we're just like any other for-profit company in that sense. And YouTube does monitor to make sure that we're not using copyrighted material. So you'll need to create your own PowerPoints rather than using ones from the book. If you use something from the book, I can't put it on YouTube, and I do want to get all of as much stuff on YouTube as possible. If you are teaching a class and you want to use a TED video, you cannot play the TED video in your recording because we don't have an academic license from TED. What you can do is in the PowerPoint, you can direct the students to, do a search on YouTube for a video by, I don't know, I was recently watching a video on language learning, but you can put the name of the person who presented the video. You can put the topic of the video in quotes, and then just in the directions, just tell them to pause to pause your recording, to go to YouTube, to watch that video, and then to come back to your video and to press play again, and then you can resume the lecture and discuss what was in the video. Um, and it's actually a good way of doing it because it forces the students to be an active participant in this process. If all we were to do were to play the video, the student would get up, walk away, do something else. Um, the fact that they have to stop and do something online keeps them particularly for students who are really trying to learn something from your video, it engages them more. So because they are participating in that process. Um, and again, feel free to break them up into manageable pieces, and feel free to do your recordings early. If you have any questions on the copyright part, let me know. I believe that if you're using things like government websites and you do proper APA citation, I don't know that there's an issue with that. But if you want to do that, send me an email and let me check with the librarian and with our legal department to see if that's okay. Or if you have anything where you're just not quite sure, just send me an email and I'll run it up the chain to see what the policies are on that. And I think that's it for this recording. Thank you, and I will have another recording probably the beginning of the week on discussion boards.